Thanks very much for giving us your time this afternoon. My name's Thomas Green. I'm the product lead at Impact Assessment. I'm also a kindergarten teacher. I'm 10 years in the classroom, a number of years as a school leader. Following that, I spent a number of years at Multi-Lit, developing programs, Tier 1 programs in literacy and numeracy. I spent a lot of time in schools talking about assessment, refining assessment, talking about assessment systems and how to actually use the data right down to the classroom level to affect outcomes. I jumped onto Impact Assessment because honestly, as a school leader, I firmly believe it is a fantastic platform. I'm going to show you all about it today. I have Penny joining from our team today. And when you have time, can you please introduce yourself in the chat with your school name? And as we go through, please feel free to drop questions in and I'll address them at the end. So here today to introduce Impact Assessment, I'm going to share my screen and get going. So before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, of elders past, present and emerging. I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wabakal people here on the east coast of New South Wales. So as I said, Penny's here today. I'm manning the chat. If you could introduce yourself and feel free to drop any questions and we'll come back to them at the end. So we're going to talk about what is Impact Assessment and what it can offer your school. We're going to talk about the assessment options within the platform. And then we're going to jump straight into the platform. I'm going to demonstrate live all the key features of data analysis, teacher guidance pages, data entry, and standardization. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end to address your questions. So who are we? Impact Assessment is part of the Ochre Education. Ochre is an independent nonprofit established to improve learner outcomes and close disadvantage gaps. Our vision is high equity, high excellence Australian education system where every child can reach their full potential. We're committed to ensuring that access to our core materials, including assessments, remains free forever. So Impact Assessment does not change that. Impact Assessment is wholly owned by Ochre Education. The purpose of Impact Assessment is to provide schools and school systems with everything they need to benchmark their students' progress and address gaps in learning. So while Ochre has been working with schools and school systems for the past 4 years, we've heard many times about quality and practical assessment. People think it's the critical missing piece for improving student outcomes and driving teacher improvement. So another key aspect is that revenue from Impact Assessment just goes around to support Ochre Education to maintain and improve our high quality teaching resources, keeping them free forever. So what is Impact Assessment? It's an online assessment platform to support more effective data-informed teaching. All our assessments are paper-based, and we're also piloting online versions of some assessments in some states and school systems that support single sign-on with Google or Microsoft. I'll talk a bit more about that later. The teacher platform's web-based, and this means it can be accessed from any browser on any type of device, and it's accessible for all students and staff within your school. So we provide high quality assessments for English, maths, science, and humanities with more to come. Our assessments are written by subject matter experts who are designing high quality assessments that align with state and national curriculum standards. One of the most advanced capabilities of Impact Assessment is that teachers and leaders can analyze the data down to the question level, but also compare results between classes and between schools. Our analysis tools link directly to teacher guidance and Ochre resources so teachers can make decisions about next steps. We say that Impact Assessment is powered by Smartgrade. It's a UK platform Smartgrade is a UK platform used by more than 1,500 schools and school systems, over 400,000 students. Smartgrade, they've succeeded by solving the same core assessment challenges that we face here in Australia. They're specialists in working with groups of schools and whole school systems to ensure the assessment data is aggregated consistently across schools, so reporting and benchmarking are reliable and useful. So Impact Assessment is an Australian platform built on Smartgrade's underlying technology. So ultimately our goal is to help schools improve student outcomes. So we're going to look at the broad steps and then we're going to go into the detail. So you can use benchmarked, standardized Ochre assessments, or you can create your own school assessments. You can reduce teacher workload with easy data collection and data entry. You can support better data analysis with advanced tools and standardization. This enables more informed decision-making and next steps planning with analysis reports linked directly to relevant Ochre resources, which leads to improved outcomes for students. So our schools are frequently reporting that Impact Assessment is prompting powerful data-based discussions in their schools. They're saying it's simple to set up and easy to start entering data. Schools really like the in-depth data analysis, which I'm going to show you today. And most frequently, we hear that schools love that the assessment directly aligns with what they're teaching. We take privacy and data security very seriously. That's why impact assessment uses WAND as its primary data integration. So using WAND is completely free for schools, and it's the most secure and efficient way to integrate school information to third-party platforms like impact assessment. We are SD4S approved, and all our data is stored and transmitted within Australia. So one of the key features of impact assessment is that we want it to be a platform for all your assessment data, regardless of which programs or resources you're using. So this means you can use the high quality Ochre assessments that are available and set up out of the box, and you can create your own assessments that suit your school or your school system. So the Ochre assessments that are available on the platform comprise of our end of unit assessments for English, maths, science, and humanities. These align directly to the corresponding Ochre units of work. Something we're particularly excited about are our new end of semester assessments. These provide a more broad measure of student achievement. These assessments align with Ochre lessons and materials, but you don't necessarily have to be using Ochre materials to use them. These assessments, the semester assessments, are brand new and exclusive to impact assessment. So the end of unit Ochre assessments are mapped against the Australian and state curriculum achievement standards. They're designed to assess mastery of the unit. You can analyse how your students achieved on end of unit assessments compared to every other student who has completed that assessment across the country. Teachers can use this data to make decisions about feedback or reteaching that students might need, or to use the data to design professional learning improvement for teaching that unit. So broadly speaking, we have end of unit assessments available from F to 10 maths, F to 10 English, 3 to 8 science, and F to 6 HAS. However, for specific information, please have a close look at our assessment release calendar. Penny's going to drop the link in the chat so you can really have a detailed look at which assessments you're interested in. Because Ochre Education has such a wide range of resources and state variants, we encourage you to check and make sure that the assessments you're interested in are detailed on our release calendar. So we have offline versions of all our available end of unit assessments. As I mentioned, we're also piloting a range of online assessments. To be able to use these online assessments, your school requires single sign-on capability, or SSO. SSO is the most secure way for students to sign into online platforms, and it's the only way to use online assessments with impact assessment. So the new end of semester assessments are for English, maths, science, and humanities. They're exclusive to impact assessment and not available on the free on the Ochre side. These will be standardized against every other student in the country taking these assessments. This means they will be particularly powerful for assessing progress and achievement. The content areas that will be in each end of semester assessment will be communicated in advance. End of semester assessments will be available in terms 2 and 4 set sitting windows. So these assessments will be released prior to the sitting window, and results will be standardized on a given date after the sitting window closes. So again, please check the release calendar for specific assessment information to make sure it suits your context. So this year, all of our new end of semester assessments are completely offline. There's no online versions. We'll be seeking feedback from schools this year to help plan online assessment availability for next year. So let's talk a bit about standardization. It's a big point of difference for impact assessments. It means that we can compare students across their cohort up to a nationwide scale. It helps schools to know where they're tracking, what the areas of strength and improvement are. It means our assessments have a higher standard of reliability, particularly when they're taken by hundreds or even thousands of students. It makes data triangulation much more accurate and easier for schools. So assessments can be compared and standardized within your school, across your school system. So we're working with a number of school systems across the country and setting up the impact assessment platform so they can directly compare with all schools across their system. Across similar schools. So the first thing we did when we partnered with Smartgrade was we built an ICSIA filter. So when you're looking at cross-school comparison data, with one click, you can reduce it down to only schools within your ICSIA percentile band. And I'm going to show you what that looks like today. And then you can compare your results across all schools. So every school who has completed that same assessment on the Impact Assessment platform. We also know that using the platform on its own is not enough. So we're offering professional learning as an additional service to support your teachers and leaders. This program will be released in term 3, so watch this space. We'll have more information about that. If you're interested in professional learning, let us know after the demo or drop a comment in the chat now, and we can share further information. So this is Impact Assessment. This is the homepage to the platform. So key things here are the assessment library. We're going to go in a minute. My Assessments is a place where you go to build your own assessments. I regularly have meetings with schools to teach them how to build assessments and all the considerations around that. How do they want to analyze their data? How do they want to structure the data on the platform? There's lots and lots of detailed analysis, different ways to cut the data that I won't have time to show you today. In the assessment analysis and sales analysis, you can do things like put a number of assessments next to each other to look at student and cohort averages and differences. You can look at growth assessments. You can generate student reports at the assessment level that gives detailed results on how that one student achieved on that one particular assessment. There's lots of ways to cut the data. But I'm going to dive straight into the assessment library here. So I can see we have 362 assessments on the platform. So I can search for year 5, have a look at all those. I can search for writing, or I could search for SEM 1 because we have a whole range of end of semester assessments on the platform. But for those people who are particularly interested in the Ochre assessments, if I could type 3EN01, and lots of people will recognize that is an Ochre code for an Ochre unit of work. So straight away, you'll see there's 2 versions of this. One is a hybrid and one is offline. So that relates to the fact that, as I said before, there's an offline version of every assessment, and we're piloting some online versions of some assessments. So in this case, I'm going to click preview and show you exactly what an online assessment looks like. So students use SSO. They just click and it logs them in. There's no usernames and passwords. That's the only way it works. They just click start. So this is an online assessment that students might do on an iPad or a device. So obviously things like multiple choice, true or false, single word, single number, all these things are auto-marked and populated straight into the markbook. So we're talking about reducing teacher workload. But also we have extended answer response. So obviously this question here requires the students to answer in a sentence level or even a paragraph. We haven't got AI marking yet. It is in our pipeline, but what we do have is teacher judgment in online assessments. So the student submits their answer, they type their answer, and then when the teacher goes to mark that assessment, they click mark test, and they're shown the questions that require teacher judgment. They just read and click to allocate a mark. And then the mark is still automatically populated into the markbook. So we have auto marking, and then we have teacher judgment built into the online assessments. I'm going to very quickly show you online maths. If you're particularly interested in piloting some of the online assessments, I'm going to open this data one. I'm going to press preview. So obviously in maths, you need images. So all the images from the assessments are published as part of it so that they remained valid, the online assessments that we make. Saying that, we're not going to be publishing every single assessment online. We believe in validity of assessments and data, and we don't compromise an assessment just for the sake of making it online. So where there will be lots of online assessments, not all of them. So I'm going to go back to my 3EN01, my Ochre Year 3 unit of work. I'm going to press view on the offline version. Here it is here. I'm going to press view. Here's some key information up the top. But essentially what we're looking for down here is the test paper. When I say it's an offline assessment, it means it's exactly the same as perhaps offline, the tests that you're doing now. You're printing out a paper, the students are doing it with pen and paper, and you're manually marking it and entering the data. So if I click, here's my student test. So this content, the assessment content for the end of units, it's very similar, almost identical to the assessments on the Ochre side. So that means it directly aligns with the unit of work. But we've spent lots and lots of time structuring it in a way so that it suits powerful data analysis, which I'm going to show you shortly. Every assessment also comes with a teacher version. So obviously exemplar answers, writing rubrics, anything that your teachers will need to deliver and mark the assessment is there. So let's pretend I'm a school leader. I found the assessment that I want to give to my staff. So what I'm going to do, I found this year 4 fractions assessment. I just click assign. As soon as I click assign, it shows me my classes I can assign it to. You don't have to put any school information into impact assessment. No classes, no students, no teaching groups, no teacher emails. It all gets sucked via wand out of your school information system and put into impact assessment. So that's the most secure and safe way. But it also means you don't have to double handle, and you simply click assign and give it to the classes. So let's pretend year 3, unit of work, English. I've done the unit of work. I've assigned it to my teacher, and they've done the offline assessment ready to enter. They log into impact assessment, click on markbooks, and then they'll simply see the assessments that are assigned to them. I can see a big long list, and that's because I have a high permission level. There's a number of permission levels within the platform, which allows you to set it up in a way that suits your context. For instance, you can have a school user level that can only see and edit their own markbook, or you can have a higher permission level that allows you to see and edit markbooks across a subject area or a number of year levels. So there's a number of ways to set up the permission structure. But back to my example, I've done a year 3 English unit of work, Ochre, Matilda, and I need to enter the marks. So I'm going to go across and press edit. I'm going to find my markbook here. So this is what offline data entry looks like. So it's a very simple spreadsheet sort type of interface. I simply click, copy and paste, fill down, fill across, just a simple way to enter data offline. I can hover my mouse and it will tell me exactly what that question was. Obviously, I can see most of these were out of 1 mark and this one was out of 2. I've got my students. So I input data in an offline assessment. If it's an online assessment, this is populated for you automatically. But either way, I click view analysis and I get to the data. So this is where the magic happens. So different types of data analysis. First is question level data analysis. So the first thing I like to do when I look at question level data analysis is sort by low to high achievement on the class average. So here's my class average, sort by low to high achievement. Straight away, it's giving me the questions that my students struggle with the most. Question 8, 12, 14. I can hover my mouse, think about those questions and start to develop themes. Why do they struggle with these types of questions? I can then sort the questions by low to high achievement to look for student groupings. Is there a theme about the students that are struggling with these particular questions? I've got a heat map I can turn on and off. I've got first names and last names, raw scores and raw percentages. So this is question level data analysis. Topic level data analysis, this is where our team spent most of their time. So for every Ochre assessment, both our end of unit assessments and our end of semester assessments, we broke them down into 2 aggregations of topics. So when I look at a large assessment, say a semester assessment or a large end of unit assessment, I first want to know, how do my students go overall in all the large topics covered? And when I say large topics, I'm talking about sentence level writing, place value, multiplicative thinking, comprehension, vocab. These are obviously large topics with lots of things underneath. So first I want to know, how did they go overall? In this context, I can see, here's my class, 81% in vocab on this particular assessment. So that's fine. Tier 1 instruction, I'm not worried about that. 73% in sentence level writing. So why is it only 73%? What aspect of sentence level writing did my students struggle with? So that's where you dive deeper into the data. So I'm going to go options and filter my data. I'm going to look at the second level of topics, the smaller aggregation. So I'm going to dive closer. So here I can see I've got sentence level writing as the umbrella topic. And then underneath that, I've got identify sentence types, identify sentence fragments, and change a sentence fragment into a complete sentence. So clearly these are very discrete skills. So it's about quickly identifying exactly what the key skill is that my students can't do. So here I can see identify sentence types, 80% my kids can do that. But here's where the trouble lies. Identify sentence fragments, 64%. Change a sentence fragment into a complete sentence, 56%. I did not teach this well. My students can't do it. So this is the point where a lot of schools say, now what? the data, we know what the data tells us. What do we do about it? Teachers would have to run around finding resources and preparing a presentation to do a T1 reteach or planning T2 intervention. This is why we've built the teacher guidance pages. So you can see that all these skills have a link to them. If I click on this one about sentence fragments, it's going to take me to impact assessment teacher guidance pages. This is a large suite of websites that categorizes every single skill on all our assessments down to the skill level. So here, this one's about fragments and sentences. So on this page are all the resources that address that, not just at the year level of the assessment, of the year levels of the year levels around it too. So if I teach this in year 5 and my students completely bomb, I don't just want to use the year 5 resources to reteach. I want to look at the year 4 or the year 3 resources at the same topic. So I can click year 2 here and look at the resources the year 2 used to teach fragments and sentences. So it's about going straight from the data analysis to the resources that address that data. We're trying to support schools to use the data formatively to really make a difference in the short term. So I'm still looking at one class worth of data. You've got bigger schools, so let's look at multiple classes. So in this context, 3 of my year 3 classes took the same assessment. So now I'm looking at a big long cohort of all my students. I could use that to sort by low to high achievement. I'm going to drop it back down to my level 1 topics, so because I want to think about how they're doing overall. So I could use this to identify achievers and people who are struggling as a whole cohort. But oftentimes when you're looking at multiple classes, it's more powerful to aggregate the data by class, firstly. So now I'm looking at my 4 classes. They all took the same assessment. They all taught the same unit of work. But I can see this class here got 91% in sentence level writing, but this class only got 73%. So it's about easily identify how your teachers can support each other, plan your data meetings, and identify exactly what it is that's creating variance within your school. So this is school level comparison, but impact assessment, you can go much further than this. Here is my pretend school. I want to click other schools. As soon as I do that, it's going to bring in data from every single school who has sat this same assessment. You have access to all of their data. Of course, it's de-identified data. SUPP is suppressed. You can never find out who it is, but you have access to all their data right down to the question level. I can literally look at question 8 and how did all the other schools do on this, all the topic levels. And it's at this point, you might be looking at 20, you might be looking at 50 schools. You need to be able to go down ICSIA filter. You want to be able to compare just to similar schools. So I'm going to filter. I'm going to change it to just similar schools. You can see it's dropped down to 1 school, and that's because the other 2 schools were not in my ICSIA percentile band. So this is a powerful comparison score. So when we talk about standardization, we talk about doing what we just did there, look at the data and actually compare the numbers. But the other side is using that data to assign a grade or percentile ranks and standardized scores. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to go back to 1 school. I'm going to go back to 1 class, and I'm going to drop my aggregation down to the student level. Then I'm going to click on overall results. So overall results, I've got raw scores and raw percentages, but now because a standardization has been run, you've got percentile ranks and standardized scores. This is dummy data just to demonstrate. But so let's say term 2, week 5, you do an assessment, you press submit. You compare your data with across your school system, perhaps across the country. A few weeks after that, we have standardization, so which is detailed when we're going to run standardization is in the calendar I sent. At that point, we have obviously a team of curriculum experts. We're looking at the data, thinking about the curriculum, and we're assigning likely benchmarks. For the end of unit assessments, that's likely below, likely at, and likely above. And also for our end of semester assessments that are designed to distribute student achievement more broadly, it will be a 4 or a 5-point scale. So here for an end of semester assessment, you'll look at a grade system well below, likely at, above, likely above. So that's because those assessments are designed to distribute student achievement. So that's standardization at the various levels. And at this point, I completely apologize that I've bombarded you with far too much, but we like to sort of give an overview of the potential of the platform. I'm going to stop sharing and stop talking because I'm soon to run out of breath. Before I open it up to questions, after this meeting, just letting you know, you'll get sent a number of things. One is a personalized quote for your school. It's a great time to jump on impact assessment. We have pro rata pricing at the moment, which means usually we only do 12 months of subscriptions, but right now, because it's our first year, you can have a 6-month subscription because we understand you want to test it out. You want to see if it suits your school. So quote will be sent to you. Also links to our FAQs and a number of other documents that will help answer your questions. All right, if there's no more questions, we've got only a little bit more time, 1 more minute, but thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate your time and I hope to talk soon. Thanks very much.